Can't get enough sports shorts? Tune into Sports Shorts TV on Cox HD Channel 1013 Mondays at 8, Tuesdays at 9, and ETEL Channel 4. That's 52 weeks a year to get educated on sports by the best. Joel Davis and Ronnie Rance.
Welcome, everyone, to this week's edition of Sports Shorts presented by LeBear's Casino in Baton Rouge. I'm Ronnie Rance, and joining me for the first half hour of Sports Shorts is Southern University baseball coach. Only in his second season, Kerrick Jackson is our guest today, and this is a very happy Kerrick Jackson because your team's been playing pretty well this year. Thanks for being a part of this, Coach.
Thank you, Ronnie. Yeah, we have been playing well.
I got to tell you, a lot of folks in Baton Rouge took notice. Obviously, last week when you beat Southern University, beat LSU 7-2, and it really wasn't even that close. I mean, you guys dominated the game. Tigers didn't get a hit till the sixth inning. And people started saying, wow, what's going on over there? Well, you guys are in first place in the league at 12-2. I think it's been about a decade since Southern last won. I know the last time they went to an NCAA tournament was 2009. So I'm assuming that's the last time they obviously won a championship. And not only in a 10-day span, you go on the road to Memphis and beat an American Athletic Conference team. You beat LSU. And then the most impressive thing to me was the very next day because you had that hangover. Everybody's calling, texting, players are celebrating the LSU victory, and then you got a good UNO team that comes to your place, and you guys win the next day. That really showed me something.
I agree. We talked about it after the LSU game, going into that UNO game, talking about, hey, you know what, if there's anything we're going to carry from LSU to UNO, let's carry the fact that we played well. Don't carry the win with us. Let's just carry the fact that we played well, because if you carry the excitement and enthusiasm from the LSU game over, it may die down and put us in a position where we end up taking a loss that we shouldn't take. So we battled through and we're able to get it done at the end.
Before we talk too much about this year's team and what's ahead for you guys, I want folks to kind of get to know you, and that is a lot of when you took the job, people looked at your resume. Okay, well, he coached at Nichols at one point as an assistant. He coached at Missouri. He's now in the SEC, and you spent time up there. And, of course, LSU fans know all about Missouri this past weekend. For the first time ever, they won a series 2 out of 3 against LSU. And all we heard about was the weather all weekend long up there. But and then you worked in the agent world and trying to get players to sign. What brought you to the Southern job? Why Southern? Why get back into coaching when you were out of coaching?
Basically for me, getting back into coaching for me is something that it's who I am. It's not what I do. And when I left Missouri, we left Missouri in 2015. Our boys were younger at that time. I was a recruiting coordinator there, so I'm gone an average of 110 nights, 110 nights a year. And it was just tough on my wife at that time to try and manage the boys all summer while I was gone. I tell our coaches, my assistant coaches now, if you added up all the time that I spent home in the summer, it may have added up to about a week and a half. And so it was just rough on her, and she had an opportunity with her company to do something different. She said she wanted to do it, so I felt I needed to support her at that time. Didn't want to leave, but as I told my players at the time when that happened, it wasn't the decision process wasn't hard, it was the execution. When your wife, your better half says, we need to go, we need to go. So we made that move, and then she recognized after me being out of coaching that I wasn't happy with what I was doing. And she actually came back to me, it was probably March of 2017, and she said, "You're not happy, are you?" I said, "No, I'm not, but I'm not that kind of guy that goes around and grumpy and just go about business as usual." I was able to spend time with my boys on a regular basis, so that part of it was good. But she came to me basically and said, "Hey, you have a passion for what you do, and for me, this is a job that I'm going out and I'm working and collecting my check and doing the things and doing the best I can, but you have a true passion for what you do, so if you want to get back into coaching, let's do it."
So you're obviously following a legend, Roger Cador, who will get inducted into the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame this June. When did you first hear about the Southern job, and why the Southern job? What was your connection to the Bluff?
So you know what? The first time I met Coach Cador was when I was coaching at Nichols. And it was when we played them at our place. And obviously at that time you knew about Southern, specifically being a black coach in college Division I baseball. There are not too many iconic black coaches that were involved in the game at that time, and obviously he was one of them. So I got a chance to meet him at that time. We played them over the years there always, and then I went on, like you said, and did some other things. Actually, when he retired, I remember hearing the announcement about retirement, but again, at that time, I had left coaching. And I didn't know if I was ever going to get back to coaching, basically with the way that things had gone. And then as things kind of went on, an agent that I have basically said, hey, would you have any interest in that Southern job? And this was July, and I didn't even think the job was still open. I figured they had filled it because they had announced retirement. He had announced retirement at the end of the season. And so we were talking, and he had an opportunity to meet Coach Banks at a conference where ADs were in Florida, and he came back and said, hey, I think there's some interest on their part. What about you? And so, again, I had to check with the real boss to see if that was something that was going to be acceptable. And she said, okay, hey, let's look into it and see what it's about.
So how's it been so far? Because I know you talked about, at Missouri, you were never home. Well, being a head baseball coach in college, it's not like you're home every day either. So how has that balance between college head baseball coach and family life been? And is it something that, you've settled into and see yourself doing for a long time?
I do see myself doing it for a long time. These first couple years have been a little bit more strenuous just because you're trying to get things in order, trying to get the right assistant coaches in place, trying to get the lay of the land, being able to go out and meet people and do all those types of things. So I think she understands that. I think the benefit, though, now is with the boys being older, she can bring the boys to practice, can drop them off. They can be with me. When I was at Missouri, they were 3-2. Right. And that just didn't fit for that type of environment. But now it does. And the fact that they're involved in so many more activities, I think it's becoming a better balance. But I do need to do a better job as we move forward and things start to settle down to a norm of being able to have that better work-life balance.
So you take over the job at Southern University last year. Obviously, wins loss wise, it wasn't something that you were happy with. Losing record. There's that, as you mentioned, already. You got to go through some assistance. You got to see what's the right fit for you, for them with the program. There obviously was well documented some of the academic struggles and challenges that Southern baseball has as far as getting compliant and making sure that you have that eligibility, the chance to go to an NCAA regional, right, the chance to have the scholarships that you want and that sort of thing. Where is Southern right now with the compliance issues with baseball, scholarship-wise, all that?
All that stuff right now is in the past for us. We're going to be on a probationary period till 2022, but we get back our full scholarship starting with the 2019 class. We are postseason eligible this year, so we do have an opportunity to go to the tournament. So now it's just making sure that we keep everything above board, which for me, in looking at the job, was never a concern because academics for me is a priority. So I never had a concern that would ever be an issue for us ever again. Because for me, I'm not afraid to shut practice down. If we can't handle our academic business, then the baseball part is extra. That's not why kids are coming to school here. And I make sure we talk about that during the recruiting process, is they need to understand that coming to Southern University, this is an academic opportunity that involves baseball, not a baseball opportunity that involves academics.
How much of I don't want to say of a struggle, but how daunting is it following the footsteps of a legend, right? And Roger Cater had been the head coach since '85. And, because I remember Smoke Laval struggled with that a little bit following and Skip Bertman's footsteps, had success, but people judge success differently, right? Smoke Laval took LSU to Omaha two times in 5 years, and people look at that as the dark days of LSU baseball. Obviously, the bar is a little different at Southern, but still, what's been some of those challenges, and what's that like?
I think two things. One, he's a big man to begin with, so there's always going to be that shadow. But two, because he had been here for 33 years and done some very powerful things over that time, I think that people have a certain level of expectation, specifically the alums, more than anything else. I think what helps me a little bit is because of the struggles that they've had recently, then they've lost that idea of what it used to be and what the level of play should be. So with us now being able to get back, you're starting to hear people say things like Southern baseball is back. And what I'm telling them is, whoa, what they were then, they were winning 45 games a year and really, really dominating. The scope and landscape of college baseball is completely different than it was back in the early 80s to the early 2000s. And so we're going to find our place in that, but it's going to take us some time to be able to get there.
Yeah, I can remember I graduated high school in 1990 from Menard High in Alexandria, and I can remember Southern actually playing Jackson State for the SWAC championship at Bringhurst in Alexandria. Those were pretty much the two teams that dominated the landscape in that conference for about 20 years. But about 10 years ago, other schools in the SWAC started putting a little bit more emphasis into baseball, and and they started implementing not only white players, but you started implementing foreign players, a lot of Latin players, especially Puerto Rico, Central America. And so the landscape of the HBCU baseball has changed,
Yes.
over the last 10 to 15 years. It's not like it was in the 80s, 90s where, Coach Cato had the scouting connections, could get players, and nobody else was really even doing that. Everybody's doing that now.
Right. Yep. Exactly. And that, for me, that was the attraction to coming to an HBCU was I want to be able to put a team on the field that is predominantly black. I know we're going to have some diversity to do the things that we want to do at the level that I want to do them. We're going to have to go out and get some guys on the mound. There's not a lot of black kids that pitch.
Mm-hmm.
And the ones that are really, really good, the Mikael Higgards of the world and those types of guys, they're going to the bigger schools. And so until we put ourselves in a position where we give them an alternate option to say, hey, you know what, we don't have 10,000 people, but we've been to a regional 3 out of the last 4 years. We've had this number of players drafted. We've done these types of things. So, yes, you can be in a big environment or be in a smaller environment, be the big fish in that environment, and still accomplish the same goals that you want to get accomplished.
Yeah, that's always the challenge, right, for baseball players. Do you want to be with a bigger program and maybe not be the guy? Maybe you sit for 2 or 3 years, or do you want to go get those ABs and those innings? And that's always, but less fanfare.
Yes.
Do you want to do that? It's pretty much you got to decide the love of the game.
Yes.
Is it there for you or not? We're visiting with Kerrick Jackson, the second-year head coach for the Southern Jaguars. They're off to a great start this year, first place in the conference. Way out in front over there in the West. On the east side of the division, the big powerhouse program is what, Alabama State?
Yes, sir. In Jackson State.
And Alabama State kind of been that team for a number of years. So you got your 2 divisions. You guys are well on your way to possibly a Western Division title. How does the tournament square up for the SWAC? Is everybody go? Is it how many qualify? That sort of thing.
So they take the top 4 teams from each side, and basically what ends up happening is the number 1 team from the West plays the 4 team from the East and vice versa, and 2-3, and they work it way down there in 2 separate brackets. And then potentially, if everything works out, you have your 2 number 1 seeds meet up in the middle.
And then 1 game winner take all.
Yes, sir.
1 game winner take all for a chance to go to for the winner to go to NCAA regional, and probably if Southern's in it, a regional close by. More than likely. We'll take a timeout and we come back on Sports Shorts presented by LaBerge Casino. We'll continue our conversation. We'll talk about this year's squad, what's left on their schedule, and also later on in the show, we'll talk a little LSU basketball. Will Wade, some big news there. Obviously, he's back coaching the Tigers. We'll have that. That's coming up a little bit later on as well. Don't go anywhere. Sports Shorts will roll on right after this.
Heater outages hurt everyone. Don't be a victim. Call AccuTemp and schedule your maintenance check today.
If you're an avid sports fan, then you need to check out the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame, located in historic downtown Natchitoches, next to the Chateau St. Denis Hotel and the Natchitoches Convention Center. The Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame is where the rich history of Louisiana sports is told through the pictures, artifacts, and by the legends themselves in video archives. Come to the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame and Northwest Louisiana History Museum and visit a world-renowned architectural marvel. For more information and to purchase tickets to the annual Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame events, visit lasportshall.com/purchase.
Introducing the Mercedes-Benz family of vans, including the full-size Sprinter and the mid-size Metris. If these are your wingtips, if this is your gourmet latte, then these are your vans. Vans for professionals. Strictly professionals. Best commercial van residual value according to ALG, and starting at just $25,995. Mercedes-Benz. Vans. Born to...
When you come to Relief Windows, your experience starts here.
Or here.
Then we come to your home.
We measure twice.
And then we bring custom windows to your home.
We remove your old windows.
Install your new windows.
Clean our mess. And we make sure you're completely satisfied.
And all of this before you pay a dime. And at Relief Windows, our #1 product is customer satisfaction.
Heater outages hurt everyone. Don't be a victim. Call Accutemp and schedule your maintenance check today.
Get enough sports shorts? Tune into Sports Shorts TV on Cox HD Channel 1013 Mondays at 8, Tuesdays at 9, and ETEL Channel 4. That's 52 weeks a year to get educated on sports by the best. Joel Davis and Ronnie Rance.
Right after my senior year.
Welcome back, everybody. Sports Shorts, Ronnie Rance, presented by LeBear's Casino. LeBear's Casino, lots going on over there. They've got, how about this night, Coach? We got Carrick Jackson, head baseball coach at Southern. How about this concert that they have at LeBear's? You've got Tone Loc with Color Me Bad opening up for him.
Wow.
And that's going to be in May. I mean, I saw Color Me Bad open up for Paula Abdul at the UNO Lakefront Arena in the early 90s. Morton Anderson, the old Hall of Fame Saints kicker, sat right next to me. And it was a great show. And I went there mainly to see Color Me Bad more than Paula Abdul. So that's going to be fun. And, of course, Tone Loc, Wild Thing, Funky Cole Medina, all that stuff. I mean, that's going to be a great night. You can get tickets go to Ticketmaster.com, or you can download the LeBear's Baton Rouge app on your phone and get your tickets on there as well. So hopefully you're busy. You can't go. You got regionals to prepare for, whatever. But if something would have happened, we got some Funky Cole Medina for you guys.
Definitely.
We're visiting with Carrick Jackson. We'll have Henry Hayes on a little bit later on in the show to talk some LSU basketball about the Will Wade situation. But Carrick has had a great year. Boy, what a turnaround. I mean, 8-9 wins in your first year. A transition year at Southern last season. This year, you flip it on its head. You're in first place in the league. You knock off LSU, you knock off UNO, you knock off a Memphis team up there and at their place, and of course felt like you could have maybe gotten another one while you were up there. I mean, it has been a giant turn on its head, and I gotta believe that your life has been a little bit different in the last 7 days since knocking off LSU. I'm sure you've heard from a lot of friends and supporters.
Yes, definitely. It's one of those deals where everybody is reached out and congratulating us and those types of things, and talking about how momentous the win is, and what I've told them is we got to finish. The idea of beating LSU is great. The idea of beating Memphis, we got one from Northwestern at their place earlier. So to win those games, those are great. But if we don't finish, the milestones of the year to me won't mean too much. I want us to finish the year strong. And if we can get our goals accomplished that I set out for in year 2, we should be well on our way to getting some pretty powerful things accomplished as we move forward.
The only thing missing from that win against LSU last week was Poe Ben. Poe Ben not being there, the longtime supporter of Southern, kind of like the mascot fan. He's kind of like the Chris Giott for LSU. You got Poe Ben that used to always be on the hump. Yelling at the teams, and a lot of good memories of watching him over the years. But it was a special night. But your team played well. It wasn't one of those fluke wins. I remember in 1999 when LSU beat Southern. Southern beat LSU for the first time, and I think it was Anderson was on the mound, a big lefty, and some funky things happened.
Mm-hmm.
Although he pitched outstanding, this was a dominant performance. This was a dominant performance. I mean, your starter, went 7 innings, gave up 1 hit. I mean, you had to be proud of that, the focus that they had in that ballgame.
I think that was the thing that I talked to them about at the end of the game, was that it wasn't that they made mistakes. It was that we played well.
Mm-hmm.
And I talked with the pitcher, Eli Finney, about that before the game started. I said, listen, we're going to have to pitch both sides of the plate. We're going to have to change speeds front to back, be able to throw any pitch in any count in order for you to be successful. I said, when I call that fastball in to Beloso, don't be afraid to throw it.
Right.
Throw it in there. And we got him a couple times where we got him to buckle a little bit when we were going in there at 86 miles an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And he knew he missed it, but it was those types of things that allowed us to go out and be successful. And that's the one thing that I've told our guys all the time. The beauty about our game is it really doesn't matter who's on the other side. It's all about how we go and we execute because you're playing against the game itself. And now the difference maker is the guy on the other side that has 20 home runs or the guy that's on the bump that's 94 to 96. Those are the difference makers. But the only time you're going mano-a-mano is when it's a pitcher on the mound and the batter in the box. Because once the batter hits the ball, it's you and the ball to pick it up, throw it across, and the other guy to catch it.
You got a couple guys over there that I'm, folks in the Baton Rouge area I'm very familiar with. You got the two Johnson boys that are on your roster. Of course, Tookie Johnson, their dad, is the AD at Runnels Academy here in Baton Rouge, and of course was a great player at LSU, captain of the '91 national championship team, and actually at the time when he hung up the cleats after that season was the all-time hits leader at LSU, and of course he's been passed since, but that gives you an idea how good he was. So you got a couple of his guys. I know you got the Hudson kid, Hampton, over there, had a big hit in the LSU game and had the game-winning knock against UNO the next day. You got a lot of local players, and I would imagine that's a big part of your recruiting.
It is. The one thing that we struggled here with lately over the last year and a half with recruiting local kids is they know what we've been.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's been tough to get some of those kids to want to stay on board because it's in their mind, we believe in what you're saying, Coach, but I've seen Southern for the last 5 or 6 years.
Right.
And so now we're trying to show them this is a different Southern than what you know it to be and understand where we're going. And I tell everybody that we bring in our office, you have two choices. You can be a part of it or you can read about it and wish that you were. But one way or another, it's going to get done.
Can BRCC be a little bit of a feeder for you?
I think so. We have a couple kids from there. Tyler Laporte, now the previous staff recruited him, but he's from there. Hunter David, who's one of our top hitters, transferred over from BRCC. So I think if we find the right kids that fit the system and the way that we want to do things, I do think that can be someplace where we can get some kids from.
The alumni, the former players, the Ricky Weeks of the world and the other big leaguers and things that have been through there, how has that transition been? Obviously, they had that great relationship with Coach Cato. They played for him, but have you been able to kind of build that bridge?
I have been able to build that bridge with a couple of them. There's still some of them that, I'm not a Southern guy in their mind, so they have to warm up to me a little bit. But as I've told them, when I took the job, I became a Southern guy. When I brought my family down from Kansas City, knowing the situation for what it was, I became a Southern guy. But Ricky, he's been phenomenal. He came and he spent about 4 or 5 days with our kids and just didn't tell any of his friends he was here. It was really about coming and being with our kids. And he was with them and talked to them about different things and was just around.
It had to be a thrill.
Oh, it was a great experience for our guys because it put into perspective for them what this thing was really, really about, as well as I think giving him the opportunity to get away from the fanfare of all of it and just be focused on the baseball part.
That's big that he did that, and heck, nowadays, these guys are so young. You got to educate them on who Ricky Weeks is, right? I mean, well, he wasn't that long ago. He was one of the top, first round pick and all that kind of stuff. But still, some of these guys, are really, really young and don't know that. What's left this year, schedule wise? When's the tournament? Where is it? And can you think this team can do it? I mean, is it pretty much a Alabama State? I mean, are you built for that tournament?
I think we are. I think we're still trying to get our kids to increase their baseball IQ. And kind of what I've told them is right now we're athletes that are playing baseball. We haven't yet evolved to being baseball players. But each game that we go out and play, we're taking a step closer to being that and understanding how to play the game the right way, when you're supposed to do things, how they're supposed to be done. And I think once we conceptualize that and as we're moving towards that towards the end of the tournament and we're playing our best, I think we'll be tough to beat.
The Southern Jaguars overall record right now?
21-15.
21-15, 12-2 in the league. And look, at the end of the day, there's not going to be any at-larges coming out of the SWAC. It all comes down to that conference tournament, which will be down in New Orleans. So folks get to go down to the Urban Baseball Academy. It's right across the street, basically from UNO's baseball field. Old Barrow Stadium, which I grew up in New Orleans East, Coach. I played in Barrow back when they had the light stanchion in center field. In play, there was this giant concrete stanchion. I don't know how they didn't have deaths every week, but anyway, it's a great opportunity for Southern backers and supporters to go down there in May, support this team. and hopefully you win it. And then who knows? Maybe you end up in a regional in Baton Rouge. Maybe you end up a regional, Mississippi, whatever the case may be. It'll be a drivable distance for your supporters to go there. We were talking in the break. You went to Bethune-Cookman, and then you transferred to Nebraska. You were at Nebraska prior to Van Horn when he got there and really kind of took that program to the next level, went to the College World Series a couple times. But what was it like playing at a big program? You've seen both spectrums, right?
Yep.
You went to an HBCU. You went to Nebraska in the Midwest that was building a program. What was that like, and how did that kind of prepare you for your job today?
I think like you said, by playing junior college and going to an HBCU and then going to Nebraska and coaching at Nichols and coaching in junior colleges and coaching at a Division II program and coaching at Missouri, it allows me to keep things in perspective and understand, to give our guys some sense of this is where we can be. And I'm a firm believer you can be first class on a low budget. That I want to put our kids in a position where they feel just as important as any kids in the country and understand that our grass is just as green. It's 60 feet 6 inches from our mound to our home plate, and it's 90 feet from base to base. And so if we go out with what we're capable of doing and play the game the right way, it should put us in a position where we can play with anybody. And so trying to build that. And what I do want to do is I want to ultimately change people's perspective on how they perceive HBCU baseball. I want people to look at it and say, that's not an HBCU. That's one of the better teams in the country. Oh, and they happen to be an HBCU. And then I think that will, with all these things that are going on about lack of black kids playing the game and those types of things, hopefully rejuvenate that interest and get more kids out playing.
You guys, will you continue to play in that preseason tournament, the Urban Baseball?
As long as they have that, we'll definitely play in
and
that.
They had that this year. Was it on MLB?
So this year they had one game. Last year we had 2 games, but this year they had one game on there, and so hoping to again bring about some more awareness of the things that we're doing with regards to that type of that atmosphere, so kids can say, oh shoot, look at what they're doing. They're on TV. They're doing these types of things. Kids are getting drafted. They're going on and playing at a high level.
Right. Garrick Jackson, the head baseball coach for Southern University. Jaguars in first place in the league and have a heck of a chance to maybe shock the world, really. I mean, did they have a preseason poll?
They did. We were second to last.
Yeah. I mean, you won 8-9 games last year. Second-year coach. Nobody really knows about your players. It's to be expected. And this would be a really incredible story, and would probably expedite the process of getting Southern baseball back on the map and the SWAC like they belong. Thanks so much for the time, Coach.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate it. Best of luck the rest of the season. We'll take a break on Sports Shorts. When we come back, we'll visit with Henry Hayes to talk a little LSU basketball. Their skipper's back on the bench. We'll tell you about that. That's next.
Heater outages hurt everyone. Don't be a victim. Call Accutemp and schedule your maintenance check today.
If you're an avid sports fan, then you need to check out the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame, located in historic downtown Natchitoches, next to the Chateau Saint Denis Hotel and the Natchitoches Convention Center. The Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame is where the rich history of Louisiana sports is told through the pictures, artifacts, and by the legends themselves in video archives. Come to the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame and Northwest Louisiana History Museum and visit a world-renowned architectural marvel. For more information and to purchase tickets to the annual Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame events, visit lasportshall.com/purchase.
Introducing the Mercedes-Benz family of vans, including the full-size Sprinter and the mid-size Metris. If these are your wingtips, if this is your gourmet latte, then these are your vans. Vans for professionals. Strictly professionals. Best commercial van residual value according to ALG, and starting at just $25,995. Mercedes-Benz. Vans. Born to...
When you come to Relief Windows, your experience starts here.
Or here.
Then we come to your home.
We measure twice.
And then we bring custom windows to your home.
We remove your old windows,
Install your new windows.
clean our mess, and we make sure you're completely satisfied.
And all of this before you pay a dime. And at Relief Windows, our #1 product is customer satisfaction.
Heater outages hurt everyone. Don't be a victim. Call AccuTemp and schedule your maintenance check today.
Can't get enough sports shorts? Tune into Sports Shorts TV on Cox HD Channel 1013 Mondays at 8, Tuesdays at 9, and ETEL Channel 4. That's 52 weeks a year to get educated on sports by the best. Joel Davis and Ronnie Rance.
Welcome back, everybody, to Sports Shorts. Thanks so much to Carrick Jackson, who joined us just the first half hour of Sports Shorts presented by LaBerge Casino. Southern Jaguars off to a great start, and hopefully they'll end up in a regional, and hopefully that regional is at the box. Joining us right now is on the phone lines is Henry Hayes, and we wanted to get Henry back here on Sports Shorts because of the basketball news that happened yesterday after LSU met with Will Wade and his attorney on Friday, nearly 5 hours in a meeting in downtown Baton Rouge off LSU's campus. There was a release put out by LSU that basically said no decision has been made on Will Wade. That was on Friday. There's a little bit of criticism that was drawn out by media, national media as well, about why is there no decision? I mean, you said if he met, you'd reinstate him. Well, that reinstatement finally came down Sunday afternoon, right around the time that everybody was buzzing about Tiger Woods winning the Masters. It comes out that Will Wade is now reinstated as the basketball coach at LSU. We'll talk about what that potentially means. Joining us right now is Henry Hayes. How are you, Henry?
Ronnie, never a dull moment.
Very true, right? Very true. What was your reaction yesterday when all the stuff came out about Will Wade?
Not surprised in the least because of the motion that was made last week in the federal trial of Christian Dawkins, whereby the prosecution moved to suppress any testimony from guys like Will Wade and Miller at Arizona. That was a huge headwind in the Will Wade gets reinstated movement. And so, look, the larger context for that move was, and it's clear, the powers that be don't want to besmirch the NCAA here, and they don't want the game to be dragged into this nonsense, and they don't want the economic engine that is the NCAA tournament to do that as well. You got to remember, TV rights. There's a large ecosystem that benefits from keeping that thing exactly as it is. And so when that happened, Ronnie, I wasn't surprised that this was the next domino to fall.
It's pretty interesting how powerful the NCAA is, huh? I mean, here's this FBI wiretap. There's a trial, and just the as you mentioned, the big engine, the machine that is the NCAA, is able to get a couple of its coaches pulled off of the subpoena. I mean, that's just, I don't know that I've ever heard of that.
Yeah, it's interesting, Ronnie. You're right. They do wield a lot of power. But I will tell you this, as my profession, I follow patterns of disruption in business very, very closely. In fact, I'm shocker to you. I'm headed to the airport. That's a stunner for you. I will say this. If I'm the NCAA, I don't buy green bananas, man, because we're really starting to see signs of cracks in the armor that this whole thing that they're trying to keep propped up has got a shelf life, and I don't think it's going to be long. I really don't. And what I mean by that is, look, we're at the age of individual empowerment, meaning the players who, and you were one, right, back in the early 90s, for so long said, you know what, hang on a second. none of this would be possible without us. And yeah, it's cool to wear the LSU on the chest or the Bama or the UCLA. That's great. But gosh, they got a lot of older guys making a ton of money, and we get a ham sandwich and thank you. We get our education, but the trade winds are blowing, and I've seen some of the behind the scenes stuff. Man, it's like I said, the NCAA is on the clock in terms of a business model.
Visiting with Henry Hayes, our resident basketball expert, to talk a little bit about this Will Wade back on the sidelines. Now, in the last couple of weeks, 5 LSU players have declared for the NBA draft. Now, we know that unless you sign with an agent, you have the ability to go through the process and return. Any of those surprise you? Did any of the folks surprise you that declared for the draft?
None. And here's why. And I think the fan base is still getting used to some of the slight tweaks in the rules, Ronnie.
Mm-hmm.
And so let me walk you through that. So, again, this is back to my point a moment ago. The rules are trying to be gently changed to help these guys as much as possible stay in this game, right? And so last year, Tremont Waters declares, quote unquote, but he could pull his name out, which he did. Then we see you can now be represented by an agent. Now, you can't take anything, but you can have representation. Well, now, if you're Skylar Mays or Emmett Williams or Javonte Smart, you know what? If I'm advising them, frankly, they would be silly not, especially Skylar. Skylar's a junior. The other two are freshmen. But Skylar would be silly not to declare. Why? Because this gives him the right to go to Houston or Milwaukee or New York or Chicago or Los Angeles or Charlotte and sit down with their scouts, maybe with the GM, and say, you've seen my tape. I just worked out for you, for an hour in your gym. What do I need to do? What do I need to work on to get better? Shoot me straight. Can I play in this league? That's what that's about. The guys that are sharp, that are doing this, and Skylar Mays is at the front of the line there, the guys that are using this the right way use it as an incredible feedback mechanism, because guess what? The second he gets back to Baton Rouge, that kid's going to work on what they told him he needs to be working on. Now, I'm sure Coach Wade and his staff have been saying the same, but it's different when you hear it from, a general manager or a lead scout in the league or assistant coaches. And so, no, I'm not surprised. And in fact, this is what now the one difference is with the freshmen. You can only do it twice. So next year, if Javonte were to declare, he's gone. Emmett, same thing. So as to what Darius next year could declare and use another one for his junior year. So, no, not surprised. And I think those 3 that we mentioned, Ronnie, they will all be back in an LSU uniform next season.
Let me ask you this. In my mind, Javonte Smart is definitely a guy that will go pro next year, and more than likely maybe even should, because I expect his game to even just explode even more from his freshman to sophomore year. Emmett Williams is a little bit of a different story in my book. Is there a comparison for him for you as far as the type of player he is or what he can be?
Yeah, it's a really good question because he's so active and he has so much just positive energy in his game. Ronnie, it's funny. A lot of LSU fans look at him and they look at the way he plays and they say, that's Vernell Singleton.
That's exactly, what I thought.
Now, ironically, I think Vernell probably had a couple inches on Emmett.
Yeah.
Vernell's leaps were just one in a 20-year generation. But you see, not a lot of range on the jump shot. Very good defender. Again, active, good ball, good shot blocker, really good rebounder. I think for the league, if that's what you're getting to, Ronnie, his problem is going to be in bare feet. I think Emmett will measure at about 6'7". And so if you're going to be that size in the NBA, you better have a couple things you do really well. So you better be a knockdown three-point shooter. He's not. You better be a dog defender like a Patrick Beverly. And I think he can become that. Or you just got to be like almost like a Dennis Rodman-esque type of rebounder. So, he's a great states exhibit for another year where, look, remember, he came off the bench for most of this year. So next year, he gets a lot of quality run, great minutes. They can run things for him, maybe refine his post game. He can really work on his range this summer. And you don't know where he is a year from now, but he needs work on that range for sure.
I actually, in my mind, a poor man's Dennis Rodman, I think, is his best route, right? I can see him being the jumping jack, the real active, high-energy guy, just to do all the blue collar work. That to me is more his path. But at the same time, I don't know that for sure. And Emmett Williams, should go pro after next year. He may, but I thought that one was a little bit interesting. Him declaring for the draft when I don't think he's anywhere near ready for the next level, and that may be a case of if you would have had a Will Wade in place, he may not have declared for the draft.
And again, Ronnie, think about it this way. For you and you've done a great job on radio and TV for a long time. You started Jumbo. If someone had said to you, hey, Ronnie, we know you're kicking around this idea of starting your own station. What about you go talk to one of the most successful independent, station guys ever? You'd be like, well, where do I sign up, right? In other words, you're prepping for what you think it is that you want to do for a career. That's the same thing this is. I mean, absent this, it's not like Skylar Mace can go knock on the door of the New Orleans Pelicans and say, hey, can I get 2 hours with you guys?
Right.
That's a major rules breach. So it helps the players. It helps the kid if he uses it the right way. And look, everybody has a different situation too. Some of these guys might say, you know what? If I can go play in Israel for $120,000 a year or China for $200,000, then sign me up because some of their situations at home are pretty rough. So basketball is growing globally, but for the league, I think this is a positive for all those guys because they're going to get great feedback and they're going to bring it back and hopefully they incorporate it as LSU Tigers in the fall.
So now let's get back to Will Wade for a second. With the fact that he's not going to testify, there's no subpoena now in place. He's back on the job, and that's after the NCAA was involved with the discussions on Friday, and then reports are they ran point on those discussions on Friday. Mm-hmm. Then does that mean that's it? That's a wrap? I mean, it's all hearsay, about the tape say there's this conversation. I mean, where are we at on this?
I think if there's no other bomb that drops, Ronnie, and here's the other thing. Remember, as we get further away from the original incident, right, when we heard, no one has actually ever heard the tape.
Right, exactly.
Right, so we're not saying that it doesn't exist or that was specious reporting. It's just that there's no context for how do you judge what you're supposed to have heard, because we know these days anybody in news has an agenda, right? Including guys like Pete Thamel and Pat Forty and all those guys,
mm-hmm.
Which those guys benefit from the ecosphere of college basketball too. So I think short of that, even of that, Ronnie, I think what LSU may have learned here is all this was really a reaction to things that were put in place by news outlets, not the NCAA and not the FBI. I mean, again, Wade was the tail of the comet here. So, it'd be interesting to see how the school would react. Now, for Will's sake, you obviously want to stay as clean as possible and got a pretty good scare there. And, I think he goes about his business. But, yeah, short of another, bomb to drop, I think that we move on.
Well, it would be unbelievable, and what a difference 30 days or so makes. Because again, I'm a bad gambler. Anybody that's listened to Sports Shorts TV and radio knows that I'm not very good at it. Although I did win on Tiger Woods, winning the Masters, but it's a rarity. I would have lost again my house for the 100th time. That Will Wade would have been back, and that LSU might get through this thing unscathed without any repercussions. I mean, that would just that boggles the mind. I'm happy that might be the case, but wow, what a difference a month makes.
It certainly does, Ronnie, and boy, it looked bleak for a couple 3 weeks there. And like I said, the big break was the motion in the trial. And look, anytime the FBI is involved, it's one thing to have the NCAA come knock in, and we've seen their level of what I'm sort of incompetence, but if the FBI is involved, you're talking about it's a whole different level of obviously gravity. And so I think that was another thing that tainted the story. But look, for LSU fans, this is great news. I mean, I was on the call at the beginning of the 2-16 year with Chris Blair, and I saw those games, and that was 2 years ago, Ronnie. And this year, this team's 16-2. They win the league. And isn't it ironic? You look back, the 2 games they lost, they should have won. So, and look, they had a lot of other 50-50 games, but to come that far in this short amount of time. So then you say, well, what's next? Well, Wednesday is the early signing period. So the freshmen for next year can sign. So they got to get on the trail like this moment. In fact, I'm sure they did that the second this news came out. You want to keep the staff in place. So it's got some work to do there. So it's going to be a busy couple, 3 weeks over there in the basketball office.
By the way, for a good discussion for the folks out there watching Sports Shorts, for a good discussion, download the 104.5 ESPN app on your phone. It's absolutely free. And click on the archives. Listen to Dick Vitale this morning on Off the Bench with Jordy Culotta and T-Bob Hebert. Dick came back on, kind of redeemed himself, and that was the first thing I thought of when this Will Wade thing got back. Vic Vitale's got to be beside himself. Of course, he's being PC now, but he's got to be beside himself in this whole situation because he was so outspoken initially that they should fire him. But now LSU's overlooking it and being reinstated. The landscape of college basketball is changing, my friend, in front of all of us. Henry, thanks so much, man, for the time. I appreciate it. We'll talk to you soon.
Next time, Ronnie, I've got the AD puzzle solved for you, buddy. So let's do that next time.
All right, sounds good. We will do that. We'll take a break on Sports Shorts. When we come back, Michael Cobble of WBRZ will get his thoughts on the Will Wade situation, and we'll talk some Tiger Woods. That's coming up next.
Heater outages hurt everyone. Don't be a victim. Call Accutemp and schedule your maintenance check today.
If you're an avid sports fan, then you need to check out the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame, located in historic downtown Natchitoches, next to the Chateau Saint Denis Hotel and the Natchitoches Convention Center. The Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame is where the rich history of Louisiana sports is told through the pictures, artifacts, and by the legends themselves in video archives. Come to the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame and Northwest Louisiana History Museum and visit a world-renowned architectural marvel. For more information and to purchase tickets to the annual Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame events, visit lasportshall.com/purchase.
Introducing the Mercedes-Benz family of vans, including the full-size Sprinter and the mid-size Metris. If these are your wingtips, if this is your gourmet latte, then these are your vans. Vans for professionals. Strictly professionals. Best commercial van residual value according to ALG, and starting at just $25,995. Mercedes-Benz. Vans. Born to...
When you come to Relief Windows, your experience starts here.
Or here.
Then we come to your home.
We measure twice.
And then we bring custom windows to your home.
We remove your old windows.
Install your new windows.
Clean our mess.
And we make sure you're completely satisfied.
And all of this before you pay a dime. And at Relief Windows, our #1 product is customer satisfaction.
Relief Windows.
Heater outages hurt everyone. Don't be a victim. Call Accutemp and schedule your maintenance check today.
Can't get enough Sports Shorts? Tune into Sports Shorts TV on Cox HD Channel 1013 Mondays at 8, Tuesdays at 9, and ETEL Channel 4. That's 52 weeks a year to get educated on sports by the best. Joel Davis and Ronnie Rance.
Welcome back, everybody, to Sports Shorts. Ronnie Rants on Sports Shorts presented by LeBear's Casino in Baton Rouge. And we have a great concert coming up in May. Tone Loc with Color Me Bad opening up for him. You got to get your tickets over at Ticketmaster.com. Also want to thank Carrick Jackson, the Southern baseball coach who joined us in the first half hour. They're having a dream season. They were picked to finish second to last in the SWAC. They're in first place. They beat LSU, beat UNO, beat Memphis. They are really getting things turned around over on the Bluff in year 2 of his regime. We had Henry Hayes talk a little Will Wade last segment, and right now we bring in Michael Cobble of WBRZ. We'll talk a little LSU baseball, LSU basketball, Tiger Woods with Michael. How are you, sir?
Doing well, man. Color Me Bad and Tone Loc.
I know.
I mean, get out of town.
No, seriously, you might want to put that on your calendar. Tone, you got a little Funky Cole Medina, a little Wild Thing. You got Mia Moore and Sex You Up. By the way, New Jack City. Remember that movie?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I want to Sex You Up was the name of the song by Color Me Bad. It was a famous scene in the movie New Jack City. With Wesley Snipes was the big kingpin drug lord, and it was,
some Italian girl, I think, wasn't it?
I don't know what she was. She was gorgeous, but. Great scene in the movie, and they will be at LeBear's. Looking forward to discussing that with Color Me Bad later on. Michael Cobble bringing us in. All right, so three things, and we got about 7 minutes, so I want to get to them.
All right.
First off, Will Wade, your reaction. They met for 5 hours on Friday. Nothing came of it, and late yesterday, he's back.
A little surprised at the timing. Sunday night. I thought it was going to be maybe tomorrow that they would do the news dump and make it happen, but not surprised that he's back. I think initially I went on air and said, I didn't expect him to be a coach at LSU ever again because I didn't think that the two sides could come together. I figured he would be just as mad at LSU as maybe LSU might be unable to retain him. So once they started making public statements, like Will saying he wants to come back, LSU saying that, we want to hear from him, you could kind of see the writing on the wall. If they wanted to get rid of him, they would have done it, on day one. So it looked like LSU was going to try to bring him back if they could. Will's change in representation made that a little bit easier to do. And I'm not surprised. After that, I started telling people that he would be back, and they're like, nobody believes you. But not surprised to see it happen. Just a little surprised at the quickness after their Friday meeting.
The fact that we had Henry Hayes on last segment, and he said that the fact that now that Will Wade has been removed from the subpoena probably played the biggest role in this whole thing.
Yeah, because, it was all going to hinge on whether he had to publicly testify and what he would say in that court proceedings. So, plausible deniability. LSU can get away now with saying, we asked him, he said nothing happened, we believe him, we're going to stand behind him. So, that's what made this all possible. Now, if Will Wade, jumps up there and has to say everything that he may or may not have done in court, those documents get released, it becomes public knowledge, well then, LSU cannot have that. They can't be representing back in a guy that, obviously cheated the system or allegedly cheated the system, however it shakes out. And so, they can never put their full weight and support behind him. So now that, it doesn't go to court, you kind of see, again, the writing on the wall. When certain people are getting plea deals, person over at Auburn, you understand that, maybe these things is how they wanted to proceed with it. So it becomes a little bit more of a reality that Will would be welcomed back or accepted back into LSU, and that the two sides can come together. Now, how does that working arrangement proceed? That'll be the real interesting piece as they move forward.
Let's talk a little LSU baseball for a minute. The Tigers go up to Missouri or Missouri, depending on what side of the line you're on. And they lose 2 out of 3. First time they've ever lost at Missouri, and first time they've lost a series against them. All we heard about this weekend were injuries and weather. And yes, they had injuries, they had weather. But those injuries are going to be a little bit of an issue moving forward. It's now. I know they're 9-6 overall. They're basically a game and a half out of first place, but it's getting a little bit troubling right now.
Absolutely, and because it seems like whenever you get a piece back, you lose one or maybe two more. And, attrition is going to catch up with this team sooner or later. And it caught up with them in Missouri. A series that they probably should have taken on the road, they wind up giving up. And you have to wonder how much of it is weather-related and how much of it, of course, is injury-related. I mean, Zach Hess pulling his groin or re-aggravating his groin 8 pitches into a Friday night opening, you got to wonder how much were the temperatures and the tightness a factor there. So, I think I saw where it was snowing yesterday before their game. Again, you played the game. It's a little hard to get up for some conditions that you're not used to. And maybe LSU is a little soft in that regard. Maybe they need to be a little bit tougher to bring their game whenever they're playing, whoever they're playing, wherever they're playing. But the reality of the situation is, they couldn't overcome a pretty hot-hitting Missouri team for this weekend at least, and they find themselves, as you said, in a long-term situation where they've got guys on the shelf that are their key contributors.
Tiger Woods yesterday, in the wake of everything that went on this busy weekend, what was your reaction to Tiger Woods? In my mind, I remember 1986 and Jack Nicklaus just because I'm old. I actually do remember. I was at Rapides Country Club in Alexandria. I remember him making that putt, and it made me love golf even more. I think that might do this for a new generation.
I think it's fantastic to see people that have never seen Tiger Woods win and be that guy again. It's almost like turning back the clock and reliving some of your best days. So I think it was great. I think it's also interesting to see how much his personal demons were not mentioned at all yesterday. It was all about battling back from injury. Would he ever play the game again?
Yeah, it's amazing that they kind of moved over that. I got to run, Michael. We're behind on the break. I appreciate your time. We'll visit with you soon.
Sounds good, Ryan.
All right. Here's Michael Cobble of BRZ. Have a great week, everybody. Sports Shorts next week.
Heater outages hurt everyone. Don't be a victim. Call Accutemp and schedule your maintenance check today.
If you're an avid sports fan, then you need to check out the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame, located in historic downtown Natchitoches, next to the Chateau Saint Denis Hotel and the Natchitoches Convention Center. The Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame is where the rich history of Louisiana sports is told through the pictures, artifacts, and by the legends themselves in video archives. Come to the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame and Northwest Louisiana History Museum and visit a world-renowned architectural marvel. For more information and to purchase tickets to the annual Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame events, visit lasportshall.com/purchase.
Introducing the Mercedes-Benz family of vans, including the full-size Sprinter and the mid-size Metris. If these are your wingtips, if this is your gourmet latte, then these are your vans. Vans for professionals. Strictly professionals. Best commercial van residual value according to ALG, and starting at just $25,995. Mercedes-Benz. Vans. Born to...
When you come to Relief Windows, your experience starts here.
Or here.
Then we come to your home.
We measure twice.
And then we bring custom windows to your home.
We remove your old windows.
Install your new windows.
Clean our mess.
And we make sure you're completely satisfied.
And all of this before you pay a dime. And at Relief Windows, our #1 product is customer satisfaction.
Relief Windows.
Heater outages hurt everyone. Don't be a victim. Call Accutemp and schedule your maintenance check today.